Hey guys, it's Magister Macintosh. I am going to be introducing you guys to the genitive case today. We talked about this very briefly on Friday. This is one of the 5 noun cases, 5 jobs that nouns can do in Latin. It's the last of the 5 that you guys are learning. You've already learned the nominative, which is the subject, the dative, which pops out the word to or for and is used for the indirect object, the accusative, which is used for the direct object, and the ablative, which is sort of a joke drawer. You'll learn more uses for it in Latin 3, but it and the accusative go with prepositions. So the genitive is the last one. It's got 2 basic rules. The first rule is that you're going to use the word of with it. Now I get that this is going to be a little bit of an adjustment because the genitive is used most commonly to show possession. So for example, if I were to say that I've got a book and the book belongs to a kid, you're not going to say the book of the kid in English. But I want you to use of for a couple of reasons. First off, in English class, you've spent a lot of time working on apostrophes. Despite that, most Americans these days do not seem to know how to use apostrophes correctly. So for example, the kid's book with the apostrophe right before the S is the book of one kid. But if I move that apostrophe just a tiny bit over to the right of the S, now it's the book of multiple kids. This difference is super clear if you use the word of. It is super easy to mess up if you are just using an apostrophe. Not to mention, when you're writing this by hand, that apostrophe is floating up in the air. It's really easy for it to be unclear if it's before or after the S, and I need to be able to identify if you know if it's a singular or a plural genitive. So with the of, there's no confusion about that whatsoever, and you don't have to worry about, wait, where does the apostrophe go? I don't remember. It isn't even on your radar. The second reason is the genitive gets used in Latin for some stuff that doesn't work with apostrophes. So for example, if I want to drink some more water, I would say, I want more of the water. It does not make sense to say water's more. So this is still a genitive, just like the book was, or the kid was. But here, it's only going to make sense if I use of. If you know any foreign languages like French or Spanish, this is the partitive genitive, is what it's called. So of makes sense there, the apostrophe doesn't. And again, if it works all of the time, that's the system that I'm going to want to teach you guys. Not the, well, this works a third of the time, then the other third you got to do a different thing, and the last third you got to do a third thing. I want to give you guys the consistent trick. The last use of the genitive that's most common and also works with of is describing things. So for example, if you have a land of great peace, that makes complete sense. I use of, everything is clear. If I say great peace is land, that doesn't make any sense. So use of, it works every time. The second rule is, and you can see this in the example right here, these words are in the genitive for me. They come directly after the word they're describing. So you saw things like the book of the child. So let's go with the book of the boy, or the book of the girl, or the book of the family. You can't flip this order. If you float this genitive out and there's words that are in between the book and the boy, this of the boy is going to glom on to the nearest noun. So it needs to be directly after the word that it's referring to. This is true in 99% of Latin. The only exceptions that you're going to see to this are in weird poetry that you're not going to be reading to Latin for. So 2 rules: use the word of, and it directly follows the word that it refers to. Next video is going to cover the ending forms.